You're watching a B.A.S.S. presentation.
Well, here we go. Better late than never. Day one of the Lowrance Bassmaster Elite at the Harris Chain of Lakes. Let's change gears a little bit, for lack of a better term, from the Bassmaster Classic a few weeks ago back to the Elite Series. Points do matter this week. This is a 4-day event still, even with the weather postponement. Looks like we're having a great time out on the Harris Chain. Certainly wasn't yesterday's weather, because that is why we have moved it to Friday to Monday for our 4-day event. Friday to Monday because yesterday's 30 to 40 mile an hour sustained winds, thunderstorms, wind advisories, and more kept 103 Elite Series pros off of the Harris Chain of Lakes. But we're back here today, and takeoff happened just a little bit ago for the third stop of the 2024 Bassmaster Elite Series season. Ronnie Moore here with my guy Mike Sucon. And Such,
hey, Ronnie, morning.
This has kind of been the most highly anticipated wait to start an event we've had, because they had a built-in off day. Normally we don't have those, but a few events each year will have a built-in off day. They did on Wednesday, and then we had a second off day yesterday. So these guys have retied their rods 4 or 5 times by now, waiting to get ready today.
And they're itching to get out there and figure out the puzzle, which is what it's going to be. We're going to have some skinny, mostly post-spawn bass, Ronnie. Figure out what kind of tactics are going to piece the puzzle together this week.
We're decided to make the Florida swing a little bit more of a storyline with Rick Clunn witnessing his 499th bass event, and obviously next week at the St. John's we will highlight 500 bass events for the legendary Rick Clunn.
What a coincidence that his 500th will be the site of his last 2 victories.
Yeah, and a place that he's probably fished more than any other body of water. I think he's probably fished there 20 times in his bass career. This is live out there right now. Like we said, about 45 minutes ago, the 103 anglers took off from Venetian Gardens there on Lake Harris. And when you looked at the map there flying into the state of Florida, we do have 8 lakes in play this week. We've got Harris and Little Harris. You go through the Dead River to get to Eustis. You can go to the west through the Burroughs Lock to Griffin. If you don't lock through, you can go through the through the Dora Canal to Lake Dora. You can also hit Beauclair and Carlton. If you keep going through Beauclair, you'll hit the Apopka Canal, where you can lock through to Lake Apopka. There's 8 different lakes available to anglers this week. And that has been the strategy as well. Do you go and spend 3 hours of fishing maybe at Apopka? Or do you stay in Harris and fish for 8 hours? Do you go to another lake, maybe have 7 hours? There's a lot of different strategies, and Harris Chain's fishing a little bit stingy this week in practice.
It's our Bassmaster Classic champ, Justin Hamner. Congratulations again to him.
Man, wire to wire, just the 11th time in 54 classics that someone has won wire to wire. So why not feature him for the next Elite Series event? He's still probably catching up on text messages and phone calls the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, he said he was almost threw his phone in the lake a couple times. How many texts? He'd catch up on 3 and then get 5 more. I spoke with him a week and a half after, and he was still, you know, the thought of being the 43rd man to hoist that trophy. He says, don't get me emotional again, Sue. He really enjoyed winning that.
Take a look at Hamner, who's obviously right there in that same vicinity as Scott Martin, both staying on Lake Harris. Currently this morning, some guys tried to opt. Once you wait for your boat number, Such, that's when your decision on where you're going to go probably pops in. Is if I have a top 20 boat number, I may make the run to Apopka, because there's only 3 boats per lock. If you're outside the top 20, the risk might be too high that you'll be wasting too much time sitting and waiting rather than fishing. But
after being 5 weeks off, you probably want to catch some fish early, so maybe you do make a circle around Harris and wait for the locks to clear the guys originally going down there. There it is. There's
looks
one
like
of the
here's
locks.
One of the locks.
Getting crowded.
Trey McKinney,
our AOI leader.
Yeah, Angler of the Year leader, our most recent Elite Series winner at Lake Fork. Waiting, I believe that is there's no way in the world that he's probably at the Apopka Canal, and we know what that looks like. This is the Burroughs Lock, and that is to get from Lake Eustis through Haynes Creek and to get into Griffin to the west side, the far west side. So we'll break down how these locks fare, but the lock he's at currently can hold, 10 to 12 boats and takes about 15, 20 minutes sometimes to get through. And that is, like we said, you go through one idle zone to get to Lake Eustis, then you hook a left to the west in Haynes Creek, go through some idling there a little bit too to get to the canal where the lock is before you get to Griffin. We've seen Griffin factor, and Griffin's always been a place that has had some good grass, and so we'll get a good view of how the Harris chain's playing out with a couple anglers in Harris, a couple anglers probably going to Griffin, a couple going to other lakes as well. We saw Brian Schmidt and Buddy Gross not far from each other. Two familiar areas where they did their damage in 2022.
There's a lot of boats down there running more. I just looked at the map, and there's maybe 20 in that region. Checking it out. And our leader, the only guy with a limit so far, Wes Logan, is on the west side of Harris.
Okay. If you're just joining us this morning on our Facebook Live pre-show, got 6 anglers out there on camera today for day 1 of the Harris chain. We postponed it due to severe weather yesterday. Local advisories there from the National Weather Service, so we opted to delay it. We will go Friday to Monday. We lost 1 day of practice at the St. John's, and we will resume that tournament practice Tuesday and Wednesday with a Thursday through Sunday approach for the St. John's River as well. Take a look over at Buddy Gross, not too far away as well. Like we said last year, some of these pictures look exactly the same as it was the last time we were here in 2022. Some familiarity.
I just ran that picture in the look at Harris chain recently.
Yeah.
Him being right about there.
It has been a tougher Harris chain. It seems like the weights have been a little bit lower this year compared to what we're used to, but last week it did take over 30 pounds to win a local tournament. So the capabilities are there, but a lot of anglers are expecting someone's going to catch 25 to 30 pounds and then end up protecting it the next few days, trying to not bomb too bad and just ride the weight of the big bag.
I saw a lot of the guys on their weight predictions, and Brian Schmidt was kind of interesting. He had 30-pound bag on day 1, then a couple 15-pound bags and 13, like you were saying, build a big bag. So maybe he knows something, that he can find a couple big fish and get up near 30 pounds. We've got 1 limit so far, Wes Logan. About 15 anglers are on the board, up to 20.
8 hours of fishing time today. They took off about 50 minutes ago, and we will be live for the rest of it starting at 8 a.m. Eastern time. All-day coverage on Bassmaster.com. We mentioned 6 cameras on the water. We'll maybe get some look-ins with some marshals, with some of the other competitors that might be doing well. But we'll have coverage all day long. Live mixes rolling as well. We'll have Bassmaster Live with Tommy Sanders, Davey Height in studio with Such and myself. We'll be live all day long. We'll have 10 cameras the next 3 days as well.
It ain't over till it's over, baby.
We will see how it plays out for the 3rd stop of the Bassmaster Elite Series season here at the Harris Chain with the Lowrance Bassmaster Elite.
There she is.